Joe Biden said he would unite the country, and he has, unintentionally, definitely not the way he intended to. That was a very historic moment, seeing them up there, and just the whole way the debate went, it was bad. It was historically bad for Biden. I don't think anyone, even on the left, you're seeing the panic. I call it the choreographed panic, but it's undeniable. They're not even really trying to cover it. So you're seeing everybody on earth who watched that admit that it was horrible. RFK Jr., who's not a Trump fan, has called Trump the greatest debater in American presidential history. If you're asking blacks, Hispanics, whites, if you're asking Republicans, Democrats, independents, it seems like everybody is shifting towards the right.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Weber. You're watching Better for America, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my co-host today, Matt Kane. Matt, it's great to have you here with me.
Thank you for having me.
You know, Matt, you're doing a lot with AMAC, and when we met 2.5 years ago, I guess it was so refreshing to meet you and understand that your passion aligns so much with AMAC's mission. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But for those who are maybe seeing you for the first time, Matt Kane is an AMAC correspondent and hosts the AMAC News Minute. These are 1-minute videos, and you're doing a terrific job. For those of you who may not be aware, AMAC is publishing regular content on our site, original content, I should say, and Matt Kane is contributing towards that content. So we've got incredible AMAC Newsline articles on our site, original content. I want to talk about one of your articles in just a minute, but before I do, I want to talk about our recent conference that we attended. This was an incredible conference, the People's Conference. It was in Michigan, and that was in conjunction with Turning Point Action. It was their conference, and AMAC was a proud sponsor and thrilled to be there. And what really shocked me was, when I was heading there, I thought, well, we're going to meet a lot of really young people because Charlie Kirk's group, which is incredible, really has attracted so many young people. And what I found to be really refreshing was to see so many people of different generations. We had the boomers there. We had Gen Xers. We had Gen Zers like yourself. And I thought, wow, the country is really uniting.
I agree. I think it's uniting for a lot of reasons. Joe Biden said he would unite the country, and he has, unintentionally, I guess. It's definitely not the way he intended to. But I think so many issues right now are so undeniable that everybody is united on the issues. Now, if you're someone who consumes mainstream media, mainstream news, I should say, frequently, you would not think that. You would definitely buy into the idea that it's a 50-50 country. But that's not actually how most people think. And that's something when you get out of that box where it's one choice or the other, you start to realize nobody really likes what's going on right now. So if you ask people about issues specifically, I don't know anybody who's a big fan of what's gone on under Joe Biden. Nobody's a fan of his economic policy. The inflation's running rampant right now. Foreign affairs are a mess. People really feel that things are not going the way they want to. And they're not necessarily thinking about Trump or Biden when you talk about the issues. And then in terms of President Trump's policies, people right now, maybe people who didn't a couple of years ago believe that they liked Trump or that he was doing a good job, now you're kind of seeing two apples to apples comparisons, and they're saying, you know what, everything Trump did really kept the country going in the right direction, and everything Biden's doing right now is the opposite. So I think when you focus on the issues, there is great unity. I don't see Biden rallies, I don't see Biden gear, I don't see Biden yard signs. So I just think that there's an enthusiasm right now for issues-based discussion. And when you focus on the issues, people are quite united, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it seems that people, rightly so, are concerned about the issues that impact them personally. So, for example, when you're paying a lot more money to buy a loaf of bread, or a dozen eggs, and you have a president who's saying, inflation isn't that bad, but you feel it at the pump. You feel it when you get your energy bill. You feel it when you're trying to buy a home. There's something that I think people, both seniors who are on fixed incomes, are struggling under Social Security and are having to go back to work, and young people who are trying to buy a home are struggling with high interest rates. It's very difficult for young people to achieve the American dream. So it seems that one thing that Joe Biden has done, and our members agree on this, is made it very hard for people to advance. And it's the middle class, Matt, I think, that's really getting squeezed. He likes to blame big corporations and multi-billionaires, but there are so many, those aren't the people who are suffering today under Biden. The people who are really suffering is the middle class. So I wish that we had a president who would focus more on the middle class and find ways to really empower young people like yourself instead of promising student loan forgiveness when you yourself have paid your way through college.
Yeah, and I think that all sort of ties back into the unity right now, because there's sort of this theory called the movable middle. So you always have people refer to it, these numbers are loose, but there's a third of the electorate that's always going to vote left, a third of the electorate that's always going to vote right, and then there's that middle that sort of decides each year, each election. And that middle right now, when things are good or even just average, they sort of don't have that strong of an opinion. But right now, Joe Biden has sort of forced everybody who doesn't even consider themselves to be politically minded or politically engaged to have an opinion, because like you said, everyone's got to pay gas, everyone has to pay for groceries, everyone has to afford things in their lives, and when that sort of becomes less manageable, everyone starts to form an opinion, whether they view it as political or not. Everyone sort of has an idea of what's going on. So that's kind of the driving force, in my opinion.
And it seems that, Donald Trump, he's certainly gaining popularity. I mean, he's winning the numbers. When you look at how many independents, how many black voters are saying, no, we think Trump is better for us, better for the economy, looking out for us. Those numbers are certainly shifting. But I also think that under Joe Biden, well, first of all, I want to talk about the debate. Okay, before we get into some more of the statistics, because younger people seem to prefer Joe Biden over Trump in 2020. And I don't know if you felt that way, if you saw that on college campuses, or if you, we live in New York, so we're used to
we're in the heart
policies.
of young blue America.
That's
for sure.
exactly right. But I do think that after the debate, I think that all age demographics that watch that, because we have eyes that see and ears that hear, said there's something wrong here. He's definitely slowed up. He's not the same man, Joe Biden, that he was in 2020, and Trump came out strong. What were your thoughts on the debate?
Well, I think the debate, a lot of people are saying it was a surprise, or at least the media is saying it was such a shock to see Joe Biden that way. I don't even believe they're telling the truth when they see that. I think if you're in media, for example, your job is pretty much to cover the president's every move, and they've been doing that for years now. And it isn't as if conservatives have had this selected lens where we only see clips of Joe Biden struggling day in and day out. Everybody sees that, and you know this because left-wing media spins it and covers it as no big deal. So now when they come out there and say they were so surprised to see Biden behave that way, that doesn't exactly line up when you look at their coverage from just a couple weeks ago, where they were saying it wasn't really something worth talking about.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, the debate, we watch Trump and Biden on a daily basis for the last 4 years, and they're in their own separate camps. And it's sort of an amazing thing when they're actually on the stage. These are two men who are now in the same room. You have Joe Biden, who's trying to arrest, lock up, and remove Donald Trump from the equation, and that hasn't worked up to this point. So now he had no choice, really, but to stand on a debate stage with him. That was sort of a historic moment in my mind. That was something that sort of got lost, because obviously you have to talk about policy and how each person conducted themselves. But that was a very historic moment, in my opinion, seeing them up there. And just the whole way the debate went, it was bad. It was historically bad for Biden. I don't think anyone, even on the left, you're seeing the panic, I call it the choreographed panic, but it's undeniable. They're not even really trying to cover it. Barack Obama came out and said, we've all had bad debate nights. That's a lot different from spinning it as a good thing. Kamala Harris immediately after the debate went on CNN and said he started slow. So you're seeing everybody on earth who watched that basically admit that it was horrible. And on the flip side, Trump was great. I don't want to take away credit from Trump, but I think it was so easy for Trump in this debate. He's so skilled at what he does. RFK Jr., who's not a Trump fan, has called Trump the greatest debater in American presidential history, and he is. Yeah. And with that, I mean, this was batting practice for Trump. Even a couple of times he was sitting there and he said, we shouldn't even be on the stage. We're wasting everybody's time, because it was so lopsided, uneven. It was clear that Trump was himself. He's just as sharp as he's been his entire life in the public eye. And Biden, who was never that sharp, is even worse than he ever was. So that was my main takeaway. Regardless of the substance, most of the conversation has been about the mental acuity of both of the men up there. So that was my main takeaway. But I want to hear your thoughts too, because everyone has their own takeaway.
I agree with you certainly, but I am shocked that so many people were shocked to see Joe Biden behave the way he did. Because I'm thinking, haven't you been paying attention? Right. I mean, have you been looking at the man and listening to him? He's afraid to take a question. He shouts at people. When you have average everyday folks that are asking him very basic questions, right. He gets very combative, and he is not telling the truth to the American people. I think Donald Trump recently tweeted or posted on Truth Social that if, when Trump is talking to veterans, he says he was in the military. When Trump is talking to black people, he says that he frequented their churches. When Trump is, in a particular state, he'll say that he ran for office in that state. And all of this stuff is false. So it's,
Right.
For people not be able to pick that up and only see it on the debate stage, what I think is that what you're saying is right. This is choreographed. They're saying, oh boy, oh no, the American people are seeing Joe Biden on Joe Biden average night. This is how he behaves, and we really want to replace him.
Yeah.
But it seems that Dr. Jill Biden is dead set against her husband being replaced by anyone. As she, screamed out to the crowd, Joe Biden, you answered all of your questions.
That was beyond embarrassing for both of them, really.
That was embarrassing.
Yeah, it was
That was
terrible.
an embarrassing moment. It was after the debate. And then just the way the two men walked off the stage, you see Donald Trump walking unassisted. He knows how to exit stage, and you've got Joe Biden who needs to be carried down the staircase, which were two small steps. So those are things that I think left an indelible mark in our minds and our memories, and it's a clear choice. But, beyond, because we don't think it's age that should dictate whether or not someone is fit to run office. Right. Age is one area, but you can be young and stupid or young and inept. In this case, I think that Joe Biden is just dealing with issues that, unfortunately, many people have to deal with as they age, and sometimes it's hard to accept that as truth. So we never wish ill on anyone, especially the President of the United States. Right. I want to talk about the real statistics, though, and the actual numbers. You posted an incredible article that you've written. You can find this article on amac.us. The title of the article is Biden Has United the Country Against Himself, which is absolutely true. Some statistics here. Again, I found this quite shocking. When asked, do you think that the United States is on the right track? Now, Americans were asked this question. This was a New York Times poll, and it revealed that Biden is viewed net negatively across the board. Question, do you think that the United States is on the right track, or is it headed in the wrong direction? 64% of respondents replied wrong direction. This is among all demographics polled now, men and women of all ages, races, all education levels, and regions. More than 54% said wrong direction, with one demographic reaching as high as 73%. That's shocking.
It is.
These are bad numbers.
It's shockingly bad, but at the same time, it's not a shock to see it based on what's going on right now. Now, we live in a country that's so large that 1 million people is a lot of people, no matter how you chalk it up. But 1 million people is not a high percentage in a country as big as ours. So when we go back to the mainstream media and having them cover everything as if we're so divided, you're always going to have a very vocal minority. But if you look at these numbers, if you're asking blacks, Hispanics, whites, if you're asking Republicans, Democrats, independents, it seems like everybody is shifting towards the right, and you could say it's because of President Trump, which I believe it is, but it's also a combination of how bad Joe Biden has been. President Trump is also, I believe, in many polls, receiving double-digit support amongst Democrat voters. So if you just think about that for a second, Republicans typically get 96% of the Republican vote. Democrats get 95, 96% of their own electorate. For President Trump to be getting double digits from Democrats, he's getting way more than 50% of independents. That's a united country. You're never going to have a country where any candidate gets 100% of the popular vote. But if you're looking percentage-wise about the overall picture, it seems like everybody has a majority leaning towards the right. And again, it's President Trump, but it's also Joe Biden. It's a kind of the perfect storm, in my opinion, for why we're hitting this point right now where everybody's sort of somewhat getting on the same page. And I think if President Trump returns, those statistics would probably even shift more because people are living through that success and they want more of it.
Well, on the economy specifically, you write, Biden's net disapproval is a whopping 63%. On law and order, it sits at 55%. Foreign affairs come in at 61%. Immigration at 64%. This is saying Biden's failing. This is a number when the vast majority of Americans across all demographics say wrong direction, economy is bad, we see it, we're the ones who are paying high prices. We're the ones who can't afford to remortgage or refinance, buy a home, buy a car. These numbers are real numbers. So this is a terrific article here. What do you think the younger How do you think the younger folks are going to turn out at the polls this November? And do you think that younger people are also, right here on Long Island, Matt, do you think that younger people are saying, yeah, it's time to get rid of Biden?
Absolutely. I grew up, I believe when I was a junior in high school, that's when President Trump made his announcement that he'd be running. And now I was always a Trump fan. My dad used to play his DVDs in the car on the way to football practice. The Life and Business DVDs, they were interesting to me. So I was always a fan of Trump's before he was President Trump. And from there, what he did was politics. The reason why, conservatives in particular are usually older is because politics are technically boring. Prior to Trump, it was sort of hard. How do you get young people engaged when you're talking about Social Security and things that in your mind you don't really have to worry about for a long period of time? But all of a sudden, Trump came into the equation, and there was this rock star feel to him. There was that appeal. His rallies would fill out stadiums. And from there, he started talking about important issues in an excitable way, in an easily digestible way for people. And he sort of brought the young people into the political equation where probably if you're a Democrat, you would have preferred that not happen, because liberal Democrats at the high school, end of high school where you become voting age, and also at the college level, there's a lot of liberal mobilization on campuses, and Republicans typically don't have that presence, but Trump sort of woke up that base. So I credit President Trump, and it's really coming up on 10 years now, for that change, and I'm absolutely expecting a shift now, because on top of what he's built for the last 10 years, now we're talking about the economy, and people at a young age where this is really where you want to start your life, and right now they can't. That right there is going to resonate with people where, wait a second, I remember a couple years ago, President Trump had everybody making a lot more money than they are right now. Whether you credit that to the president or not, you can't tell people that things were worse off 4 years ago and they're better now. So absolutely, even on Long Island, there was a poll that came out recently where I think President Trump is down 7 points in New York. Now you hear 7 points, but the margin of error is probably 3.5. That's technically a statistical tie. And on top of that, Republicans typically lose New York by 25 to 30 points. But there's been a shift. Lee Zeldin lost the state by 6 points. Chuck Schumer just lost, just one, I should say, his reelection by less than 60% of the total vote for the first time in years. So there is a shift, and I think right now is the perfect chance for President Trump to make a play in New York. But even if he doesn't, you can definitely sense that there's a shift towards the right that will limit a Democrat win or even maybe flip some House seats for Republicans. So I definitely expect New York to be a lot more in play, and other states like New Jersey as well come November for sure.
Terrific. I so appreciate your perspectives. And for anyone who would like to read this great article, check it out. Biden has united the country against himself. You can find that on amac.us. And also check out Matt Kane. Follow him on Twitter. Can you share with us your Twitter handle?
That is Matt Kane USA, and on Truth Social, it's just Matt Kane.
Excellent. And I am also on X. I said Twitter.
Yeah,
Still can't get used to it.
I'll probably never.
I'm on X at the Rebecca Weber. I'd be overjoyed to have you follow me, where we will post a lot of these great articles. And don't forget to check out Matt Kane's AMAC News Minute. They should be coming to your inbox. If you're not receiving them, make sure you sign up for our daily news. Matt Kane, always a pleasure. Thanks for all you do.
And thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll see you all back next time. Have a great day, everyone.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.